of the New York State Board of Real Estate Appraisers. I am Stephen Raffarel. I am your chair. At this point, I would like to welcome John Zakowski and William Waltenbaum to the board. And if I mispronounce your name, I apologize. Why don't we go around at this time and have the board members introduce themselves, since there are some new members?
Hi, I can start, Steve, if you want. Hi,
Sure,
I'm
thanks.
Susan Baldwin from the Syracuse area.
And I'm William Waltenbaugh, but you can call me Bill if you like. That's fine.
I apologize for the butchering of your name.
No, that's fine.
And I'm John Zakowski, and you did great.
Thank you, John. How about our Albany office? Who we have there? It could be DOS staff or it could be board members, or however you want to guys
There's
want to
no
go.
board. Yep, no board members here, just Department of State staff. Jody DeLallo, Director of Licensing.
Emily Loopy, Assistant Director of Licensing.
Candace Burchett, Board Meeting Coordinator.
Shannon McGuire, Division of Licensing. Allison Lacey, Division of Licensing.
Okay. I would like to welcome everybody to our board meeting. We now have a quorum. Thank you all for coming forward and volunteering and making my life a whole lot easier. So that being said, and with a roll call and the establishment of quorum, I would like to move on to the department reports. And I would like to call on Ernest Delaney to go over our enforcement report. Ernest, are you out there?
Yes, from the New York City office, yes. Good afternoon, everyone.
Well, I'm sorry, everybody from Ernest, why don't we introduce everybody in New York? I'm sorry, we missed you guys.
Okay. Ernest Delaney, New York Department of State.
I'm Kelly Latham. I'm an Associate Counsel with Department of State.
Chanel Washington, I'm a board member.
I thought I was missing you, Chanel. I apologize for that. Too many offices.
No
And last but not
Don't
least.
worry.
David Mossberg, Department of State.
Okay, thank you. I apologize for forgetting another office. So Ernest, going back to where I brought us, do you want to give us the enforcement report?
Yes. So this enforcement report will covers the period from November 2024, which was the approximate date of our last board meeting, up to today. Over that time period, the Department of State has received a total of 71 new appraiser complaints, and we've completed our investigation on 53 complaints during that same period. The dispositions of the completed investigation include 17 cases complaints which were closed due to no violation, 3 complaints which were closed due to no jurisdiction, 2 which were resolved, 1 complaint was withdrawn, and a total of 30 complaints. After our investigation, we referred over to our counsel's office with a recommendation of disciplinary action. Our current appraiser complaint caseload is 18 cases. As I break down further, the sources of those 71 complaints that we received, 19 were Fannie Mae referrals, 9 came from banks and other lenders, and 43 of those complaints were received from the general public or from other appraisers. Looking at the Fannie Mae complaints, 6 of those complaints after our investigation were closed due to no violation. 1 was closed for no jurisdiction. 4 we referred to counsel, and 8 remains under investigation. That concludes my enforcement report. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I guess I'll start, or at least I do because I'm the new guy, right? So does that also include complaints against appraisal management companies? Or is that
Yes.
just appraisers?
Yes. It's a combination of against real estate appraisers and against appraisal management company. And I can tell you, we only actually received 1 complaint against an appraisal management company. That's included in that number.
Okay. Yeah, and then, is there any type of breakdown in, I guess you said 17 were from Fannie Mae. Do they break it down into different categories?
No.
I'm just curious is all, other reason why I'm asking.
Are you
No,
talking
I-
categories of violations?
Yes,
Like a use pattern you're looking for there? Because he did break down, well, you broke down 6 being no violations, no being jurisdiction. So you're looking for you're looking for the actual infringement?
yeah,
Correction.
the reason why they were submitting the letter. So I think they do the letters. So I think you said 17, and they usually will provide the reason for setting. But if you don't have it, that's fine. Those are just the things that are curious to me.
Yeah, I don't have that for this board meeting, but I can bring it for the next.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so Ernest, that strikes up an interesting question for me. The appraisal management company, is that an actual like use pad violation of an appraiser that works for the appraisal management company, or is that directly against the appraisal management company?
I would have to look, read over the file. I mean, I did note it that there was only one, but I did not look into the actual complaint to get the details on it. So I can also prepare that for the next board meeting.
All right, thank you, I appreciate that. Any other questions of Mr. Delaney? All right, that being said, we'll move on to the next department reports, processing report. Emily Loopy?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Within the meeting materials you were provided are statistics with the totals of licensees in September of 2024 and September of 2025. The report breaks down the number of licensees, both by county and by license type. The numbers between the 2 years are fairly similar. Between 2024 and 2025, there was a slight decrease of about 3.5% between the years. And that concludes the processing report.
It looks like in previous reports, it looks like that 3.5% to 4% is fairly steady. Am I correct in that assumption?
I believe so. I'd have to go through the meeting materials, but if memory serves, yeah, fairly consistent.
Okay. All right, are there any questions of Emily? Okay, with no questions being asked, move on to 2C, the continuing education audits. Allison Lacey,
Good afternoon, everyone.
good afternoon.
Bureau of Educational Standards is conducting continuing education audits. We randomly select a percentage of monthly renewals and all late renewals for this audit. For the months of January 2025 through August 2025, we have conducted a total of 62 audits. Out of those 62 auditees, 44 have complied. Of the remaining 18 auditees, 8 have submitted consent orders and 10 have been sent to administrative hearing. Are there any questions?
I'm a new guy, so I'll ask what. So you said 18 were sent to what?
Of the remaining 18 auditees, 8 have submitted consent orders and 10 were sent to
Oh.
administrative hearing.
Yeah, so what's a consent order? I don't know what that is.
That's how they try, that's one of their options to comply with the audit. It's a settlement agreement.
Okay,
It's usually financial, correct?
Yes, there can be a bond involved.
Right.
And they would.
But it's
be
also
required
could
to
be-
take the missing education.
It also could be meeting the audit requirements by taking the classes after the fact.
yeah,
Yes, after they have affirmed they have completed their required continuing education and it is later found that they have not.
is it usually that high? I mean, 34 complied out of 62. I mean, that's,
44 have complied.
44.
oh, 44, okay.
Still it's high.
Yeah.
Just seems like a high number of people who didn't meet their education requirements.
Is that
Percentage.
typical? Is that,
That has been the pattern we have noticed over this past year, yes.
Wow, okay.
So just to give you guys a little bit of history, go back 20 years, 25 years, I've been here that long. New York State was so out of compliant that we were mandated by the federal agencies to do 100% check on everyone's continuing education. So that in comparison to where we are now, but that number again remains fairly steady.
Okay.
Too high.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions from anyone? Okay, thanks. Thank you, Allison. All right, moving on to new business. Everyone good?
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to new business, under 3A, Pararia, David Mossberg.
Good afternoon, everyone. So as some of the older board members know, and based on the board materials, hopefully some of the newer board members are aware that the board had previously discussed Piraea at several board meetings, which is the practical application of real estate appraiser experience as an alternative pathway for appraiser applicants to become licensed or certified. And so following those discussions, the board had reached the consensus that they wanted to move forward with allowing Piraea as a viable option in New York towards licensing and certification. So based on that, the department prepared what should be in the board packages as a proposed amendment to Title 19 of the New York Code. I know the regulations have been shared with all the board members previously, but what this would do is it would amend Section 11021 by authorizing Piraea, and then it would add as an entirely new section the actual requirements of what the Piraea program would be. This mimics and tracks what the federal guidelines are in terms of what the requirements are, how much credit may be satisfied using the Piraea pathway. So based on the board's prior discussion, what we would like to do is to see if there any discussion on the text or if the text is acceptable. What we would like to ask the board members is 2 votes related to the Piraea rule. First vote is specifically to vote to approve and authorize action by the Department of State to submit the proposed rule for publication in the state register as part of a formal notice of proposal. The second vote we would ask for is that the board members vote to approve and authorize action taken by the Department of State to submit a notice of adoption of the proposed rule for publication in the state register following the legally required public comment period. So as some of the board members may know, what happens is after the board votes to propose the rule, it will get published in the state register for public comment. At the end of the public comment, provided there's no substantive comments, if it's, somebody points out there's a comma missing here or something like that, we can just go ahead and make that ministerial change and file the notice of adoption. If it's something that's more substantive, we would have to come back to the board to discuss that change. But based on historical experience, there's very few comments that I ever received, and none of them are usually substantive. So we would like first to see if any of the board members want to discuss the Piraea rule or the text, and then see if the board would be agreeable to those 2 votes so that we can move forward and institute Piraea in New York.
Is there any discussion, comments, or concerns for David from any board members?
No, I'm good. I read it through after David called a few days ago, and
We have been working on this for a few years. And we're, I don't want to say we're late to the game, but we're thorough in process. There are other states in governing districts that have adopted this. I mean, initially there was some concern that we were going to, a lot of appraisers were gonna age out and we were gonna be at a shortage. We haven't gotten there. Based on, you can see by the changing numbers and the licensing numbers, but there's definitely a need for this.
Okay,
If there isn't
Yep, good.
any, go ahead, Sue.
no, we're good.
Okay. If there isn't any comments, concerns, or questions, David, you would like us to vote on the proposed role as the first perspective?
Right, so the first vote would be a vote to approve and authorize action taken by the Department of State to submit the proposed rule for publication in the state register as a formal notice of proposal. That's for Pyrea. And then the second related vote is so that we can move to file the necessary paperwork to adopt the rule following the expiration of the public comment period. So that vote would be to vote to approve and authorize action taken by the Department of State to submit a notice of adoption of the rule for publication in the state register following public comment.
Okay, so can I ask for a motion from a board member in introducing proposal 1?
I'll do a motion to approve and authorize the proposal for public comment. Was that sufficient, David?
Yes. That's why I asked David for a full description on proposal 1, so we can then go into, instead of revisiting what he said, that we can get.
We'll be able to clarify it in the minutes of the meeting exactly, but you're fair to say that the board is voting to propose proposal that I just
number
described.
1.
Yes.
Okay.
I make a motion to
I'll,
approve and authorize.
give me a second.
Sue seconds. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So proposal 1 has passed. If you all can remember David's lengthy description of proposal 2, I'd like to have, David, would you like to read proposal 2 again?
Sure.
Thank you.
Vote to authorize and approve action taken by the Department of State to submit a notice of adoption of the rule for publication in the state register following expiration of the public comment period. So is there a board member that would like to make that motion?
I would, but I don't know if I can remember all that.
Right.
Well, you could just say I'd like to.
Just
make
say
that
number
motion.
two.
Number 2.
Just say
Number
proposal
2, I make a motion
Like,
to
I'll
approve
say
We have a
number
board
2.
member that wants to
Make that motion.
make a motion for proposal 2.
Can we say?
Do I say it
proposal
again? I make a motion that we approve proposal 2.
Okay, do I have a second?
two? Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? So proposal 2 has passed. David, thank you very much. And a sidebar, Dave, thank you very much for all the work and consideration you put into this over the last couple of years.
Very happy to help the board, but licensing services helps out tremendously with everything we do. So they definitely.
Yes, and to not just David, I should stand, to all staff in DOS for putting all the stuff together. And over the last 2 years, it hasn't been an easy task. Okay, then I will move on to new business, item B. And David, you're just a popular guy today. 2026
I'm only
AQB
popular.
criteria.
Only popular today for the next 5 minutes. So as all the board members are aware, the Federal Appraisal Subcommittee has again updated the AQB requirements for licensure and certification. The new federal AQB requirements are set to go into effect on January 1, 2026. In order for the state to comply with the new federal requirements, we need to change multiple sections of the existing Title 19. The actual rule text was in the board package. I know it was shared with all the board members previously. The big or significant changes as part of the new federal requirements is the addition of the 8-hour valuation, bias, and fair housing laws and regulations course. As everyone knows, New York previously had our own version of that, but our version is not an exact match of what the federal requirements are. So we need to change ours to reconcile ourselves with what the federal governments are now requiring. As a condition of doing that, there will be an increase, a corresponding increase in the requirements for licensed appraiser assistants, certified appraisers, licensed appraisers, and so that's all reflected in the document. Other changes that we made were sort of ministerial or technical, just to effectuate the federal mandate. So for example, we changed references to the prior AQB that's was in effect to the new current one that's going to in effect in January 1, 2026. We've made changes to, for example, like the name of the 7-hour use pack update course. The feds changed that to something else. So that's what this proposal is. It's really just to conform the New York standards to what the federal requirements are, starting on January 1, 2026. Like the Parea vote, what we would be asking the board members to do would be to make 2 votes, 2 motions. First motion or vote would be to vote to authorize and approve action taken by the Department of State to submit the proposed rule for publication in the State Register as a formal notice of proposal. And then again, just like the Parea rule, so that we can file the necessary paperwork to actually adopt the rule. We would like the board members to vote to authorize and approve action taken by the Department of State to submit a notice of adoption of the proposed rule for publication in the State Register following expiration of the public comment period. So those are the 2 motions that we would like the board to make. If there are any questions or concerns regarding the AQB update rule, I'm happy to try to address them.
Would we be able to make the motion on proposal 1 instead of reading?
Yeah, you could
Yeah,
just
no,
say I'd
okay.
like to make a motion.
So I'd like to make a motion for proposal 1.
A second?
Well, is discussion closed here? I mean.
Oh, no, if there are any questions, I'd be happy to try to.
I just had more of a comment than a question. I think it's going to be very important for us to make it clear to our appraisers that we understand you recently took this course, but you're going to have to take it again. And honestly, it's not going to be received all that well, I can tell you. I talk to appraisers every single day, and it doesn't take much. And I can say that because I am one. But, I think that, most appraisers are going to say, I already took that. I don't have to do that again. When in fact, they're going to have to take it again. So we're going to have some type of campaign or some way to make it really clear. Because, if we thought that 44 out of 62 wasn't great, it's going to be a lot worse. If we don't make that really clear.
Yeah,
to them.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's pretty much my sentiment. I like the idea that we have conformity with the rest of the country and the AQB, but again, this the changes as an educator, as a teacher for these classes, because I taught both fair housing and fair lending. I'm going to tell you, you're going to get a lot of pushback in New York State from all the appraisers that are already seated in New York State that have already taken the 7-hour, assuming that they met the requirement, and then to have to take a class that is, in essence, basically the same entry-level class with a few minor differences to wind all over again as a requirement. I think it's going to be. I think you guys got to be ready for a storm. So I just want everybody to understand that even though I'm in total agreement with complying to a national standard, because I think it's the right way to do it, I just sit back and I was kind of hoping that there would be an alternative, that they would maybe just have to take the exam or something like that, that we could offer to be in compliance with the people that have already taken 90% of it. But if that's off the table, then just be prepared that somehow we're gonna have to get a campaign out there to the appraisers to wind up explaining why they're going to have to take this all over again. Otherwise, you guys are going to be barraged with phone calls from just about everybody that's currently licensed. And all the schools that are out there are going to wind up fielding the same questions. And I'm just not sure if you guys understand that this is going to blow up on you.
Okay, so let me jump in for a second. So this little, because I'm somewhat of a historian, no matter what we do, it's gonna be, we're gonna have the same backlash. No matter what the occupation is, you're still gonna get the same backlash. But the reality of it is, if New York State doesn't follow the federal regulations, and they won't allow banks, credit unions, or mortgage brokers to sell their mortgages in the secondary market, and you think the Department of State is going to get a backlash from a group of appraisers, well, when the mortgage brokers and the Bankers Association and the National Credit Union Association starts calling you, it's going to be 1,000-fold. So as much as I agree as an appraiser that I don't want to take the course again that I just took, it's kind of the price of doing business, and I don't mean it in a closed-ended, backhanded way. I mean, that's just the way it's going to be this way here. It's going to be this way in every state across the country. So it's just something we have to deal with.
But I'm just stating that that there's a way to wind up probably being proactive to this.
No, I completely agree with your perspective that we need to be proactive, but there's no way around the fact that we have to change the course. They have to take the course, or we fall out of compliance, and then we have a larger problem than we do it just by changing the course.
I had this conversation with David a few days ago, because he was kind of briefing us, because we're both brand new on this board, and again, I had every expectations of just sort of sitting back and not talking much to try to get the lay of the land for the first few meetings, but this one I'm just letting you know is going to be very controversial amongst every appraiser that's taken this class.
Yeah.
But-
Let me say this.
But
I welcome discussion because we haven't had it in a while. So believe me, new ideas, new thoughts, fantastic. New set of eyes are wonderful. But with this particular thing, it's just the reality of it. Is that there's really no way around it. But I understand your point. We should be proactive to have a campaign to allow people know that this is coming from the federal regulatory agencies, and there's really nothing we can, move the wall.
Right, and even if you guys know better than me, but I mean, realistically, every appraiser out there has an email, and to wind up sending an email campaign out from the Department of State to state what has happened and why, I think would probably go a long way, because otherwise it's going to be really, really poorly received.
But the course itself still can be part of your education, right? For your cycle.
It has to
Seminar that you have to take.
You
It
can
has
get,
to be part of
you'll
part
get
of your
70
20
hours.
the courses that you have to take.
Right, but it's still part of your 28 hours. So you're just telling folks you're going to have to take this one in lieu of that one. So you still need the hours, and this ad goes to your hours. So it's.
Yeah, so
John,
so you understand, we all know that we're being voluntold that we have to pass this. I mean, from the federal, I mean, you have to approve it. There's really nothing to it. I think we're just taking, or at least John and I are taking this opportunity to kind of raise a red flag and say that we think that if we don't get in front of it with the appraisers, it's going to be a real issue. So,
Excuse me,
yes,
would you like a response from the department?
absolutely.
Sure.
I have some clarification. Thank you, Susan. I was gonna add that they'll still get CE credit for that course that they took. It just won't count to satisfy the fair housing valuation bias, requirement. But the department fully intends to notify the licensees of this new requirement.
Right.
We are, as Steve pointed out, we are definitely aware of potential pushback and potential arguments. We've been doing this for a long time.
Yep.
And we implement changes on a regular basis for all our different licenses types. So we are prepared to handle it. And I always say that more education is not a bad thing. So, we want to stay in compliance. If they have to take an extra class, maybe with a different instructor and a different perspective, it's not going to harm them. But our justification is certainly that we have to comply with federal requirements.
Well,
So-
they're gonna perceive this as, I have to take the same class all over again, just so you're
It's-
aware. I understand
Yeah.
there's minor differences, but the issue here is that that's how they're going to perceive it, and I'm just preparing you for that.
Yep.
That's all.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
So John,
But
in-
I just so that you know, I wanted to answer that we do intend to make this information known. We will be posting things on our website. We were waiting for after this meeting, honestly, so that, the regulations were moving forward. And we wanted to ensure we have schools that have these courses available, and we do. So, and Allison's gonna report on that.
Okay.
And I'm all new to this too, so if I'm stepping out of line a little bit, I just wanted to let you
No,
know that.
no, you're not.
It's all new,
Not at all.
No,
Okay.
so John, let me just insert for a second. You're not at all. I mean, this is an open forum, and this is the reason why we like to have active conversation. So things can be vented, things can be learned, and the process can go on. But the point, John, you bring up is well taken in. It's also, I step out of my role for a second and step into something else. This is where something like NISAR, the appraisal committee, or going back to your local MLSs, if you have appraisal committees within your local MLSs, this is a good topic to get out. Like, I know that I'll go back to my local MLS in with the public relations committee and get it out, statement to the appraisers, and I'll be at the NISAR meetings in Albany in November. So I'll talk to them about putting out an email blast on it. So the conversation is good, and it's good to take it, once it's public, it's good to take it outside of the board and take it to your MLSs or NISAR so we can really get the word out. But yeah, as Jody's saying, they're anticipating that we're gonna get a flood of phone calls about the questions. But listen, it's never frowned upon to bring up a point, whether you're a new member or an old member. It's always good to have healthy conversations. Anybody else?
Um,
All right.
I don't wanna hear
David,
myself
would you
talk.
be able to
We're
get
ready,
us that
Chanel.
material?
Now, can I
So
go again?
if David, you would be able to get us that material,
Which
right?
material?
Like just some material that's letting, that we can go to these places with, like maybe a little pamphlet, hey, heads up, this is changing or something like that, so that when we do go to these places like the MLS meeting or something like that, that we can like leave a stack or something, or just like a PSA that there's been a change.
Yeah, so I mean, I would defer to Jody and the licensing team about like whether or not we actually have like physical material.
Gotcha.
But as Jody said, as part of the rulemaking process, two things will happen. One is that the rule, the text, the justification, the explanation, so that everyone is aware that like we're doing this to comply with federal law. And that if we actually don't do it, these appraisers, they won't be able to work because they won't be doing appraisals for mortgages and banks and all these other things, right? So like, this is actually to keep the appraisers working. So we publish the state register, which is the first part of the motion.
Mhm.
We also, I know, publish this directly on the Division of Licensing Services website, where we have the rule, we'll have a direct link back to the website so that they'll have this information. But I don't know, and I defer to Jody and the licensing team, beyond like FAQs and other, general educational information we put online, if we have like, paper material to hand out or
We
something
don't
like that.
have pamphlets or handouts or anything like that. We have, the information, like Dave said, there's FAQs on our website. We're actually gonna put an alert on our homepage, under news, So, and anything new regulations, new legislation, new processes, we put it out there. It's the first thing that shows up when you go on the licensing's website, and it'll be on the appraiser page. So that information is there. The renewal application is being revised, and it's part of the affirmation. So it's clear there that course has to be, completed. So, but yeah, there's nothing we can give you, but you can, I mean, what's happening, and if you're in a conversation with someone,
Just let them know.
definitely share that information, absolutely. And the schools will get that information out as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're hoping for the best.
Planning for the
Next
worst. All right, well, good, very spirited, good conversation, getting perspectives. Is there anything,
Now,
Chanel had a motion on the table to accept
Proposal 1.
proposal 1. Thank you. I'm looking at my notes while I'm moving them around. Proposal 1. Do I have a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Sue seconds. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Anyone abstain? So the motion passes. Now getting back to proposal 2. David, can you just give us another description of proposal 2?
Right, so proposal 2 is a vote to approve and authorize action taken by the Department of State to submit a notice of adoption of the rule for publication in the state register following expiration of the public comment period. What that vote would do, it would be, once the rule is published in the state register, it's open for public comment. We cannot file the necessary papers to make the rule law until we file the notice of adoption, which we can't do until after the comment period. So what this vote would do, it would allow the department to file those papers to make the proposal law at the end of the comment period, provided there's no substantive comments. So if somebody looking at the rule writes to us and said, you missed a comma, or you spelled a word wrong, that's not a substantive thing. The State Administrative Procedure Act will allow us just to make that change. So the text might be different, but it's non-substantive. So provided that there isn't a substantive reason to come back to the board, we would just request authorization now to file that so that we can have this rule in effect on January 1 so that we comply with the federal requirements.
Okay, so proposal 2 would be the adoption of what was proposed in proposal 1. So do I have a motion to accept proposal 2?
I'll do a motion to accept proposal
Thank
2.
you, thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
I can be the second person.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? So carried. Thank you, David, for stating the facts 2 or 3 times. All right, so moving on to new business C, clarification on continuing education. Allison?
Hello again. There is a new continuing education requirement for appraisers. All real estate appraisers with a license or certification that expires on or after January 1st, 2026, or who renew on or after January 1st, 2026, will be required to successfully complete an approved course of study in valuation bias and fair housing laws and regulations. Coursework in valuation bias and fair housing laws and regulations must be a minimum of 7 hours for a first license renewal and a minimum of 4 hours for subsequent renewals. We do currently have schools that are approved to offer this new valuation bias and fair housing laws and regulations continuing education course. Are there any questions?
I have a question, but does anybody else have a question first? Okay, so the initial course is 7 hours, and then subsequent courses are 4 hours, correct?
Correct.
So that'll continue as long as there's not a break in your licensing period, right?
Yes,
Okay.
There's also the exam too, which is really 8 hours.
Well, that's for the
that's the
qualified.
qualifying 8-hour course.
Okay, right.
7 hours plus 1 hour exam.
And there's no exam for the subsequent 4 hours, correct?
Correct, and there's no exam requirement for the 7-hour.
Oh, so,
There's an 8-hour qualifying, and then the new CE requirement is a 7-hour, your first,
No exam.
no exam. And then when you renew your license again, subsequently, the requirement is 4 hours.
So it's
so
interesting.
I'm a little confused. So if I'm already being an appraiser, right? I take it as CE, I don't have to take the exam, I just take the 7-hour?
That's correct. There's no exam requirement whatsoever for any type of continuing education course. So for
Okay,
your-
but I was under the impression that everybody had to take the course, at least, the course at least once, regardless of whether you were brand new qualifying or even already an appraiser, that you had to take the 7-hour and the 8-hour or the 1-hour exam. And then after that, it was 4 hours. But
No, but I can, if you don't mind, sorry, I just wanna, hopefully I can add some clarification. So for the qualifying course, if you're new, if you're not licensed yet, and you apply after January 1st, you have to
Right.
take the qualifying course, which is the 8-hour course with a 1-hour exam.
mhm.
If you took, so, all right, so second part, if you're for your first time, you need to take the 7-hour. CE, we don't require an exam, and an exam is not required for continuing education. But if you happen to have taken the 8-hour, that would be accepted towards your CE.
Sure.
So that might be
So-
where the
so-
confusion is.
So basically, if you're state certified, you take continuing education 7-hour. Not state
Yes.
certified, you gotta take the 8-hour as of January 1, 2026.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Is that your understanding, David? Because it was my understanding that from the federal perspective, they wanted everybody to at least take the 7-hour with the 1-hour exam.
My understanding is the same as Jody's, which was that the exam component is only for original certification or original application. And that on the continuing ed side, the feds have, to my knowledge, on the continuing ed side of things, never added the 1-hour exam part.
Okay.
But,
That makes our last conversation a little bit better.
Oh, yeah, a little softer for the people that are taking it, because like you said, now it's just 7 hours of continuing ed. They don't have an exam. It's not an additional hour for the existing appraisers. That will soften that up.
provided that their existing appraisers staying in the same category.
Right, exactly.
So like,
Yes.
if you were upgrading from any of them, right? So if you were going from the
Mhm.
assistant to the license to the certified to the general, like anytime you go up, then you'd be triggering this 8-hour, where you'd have to take the 7 plus the 1-hour exam. But if all you're doing is staying sort of static, it's my understanding, and I'd be happy to review this, and I'm sure that we address this on, our FAQs and, all the outreach that Jody was talking about, is that for continuing ed, my understanding is that there's never an exam component. It's always educational hour components.
Yeah, I mean, that's different than what was my understanding, but I mean, I'm definitely could be wrong.
No, Bill, because glad you asked for clarification, because I was under the impression by reading through the literature and reading what I was reading online, that we were required to take a 7-hour course and a 1-hour exam every time we renewed our license.
So on the second to the last page, item B, the very bottom, the first time an appraiser completes the continuing education requirement for this course, the course length must be 7 hours. If the appraiser successfully completed a 7-hour plus 1-hour exam course as part of their qualifying education, they have met this requirement. So yeah, I mean, I think every 2 calendar years, then it's 4. Difference in 7 to 8 is the 1 hour.
Right, so I think what you're referring to is the proposed revision to 110733B. So that says the first time they complete the continuing education, they'll only have to do the 7, provided that when they took their 7-hour plus the 1-hour exam as part of their qualifying, then they wouldn't have to retake the exam. So that's what that says. That's why it says if an appraiser successfully completed 7 hours plus the exam as part of their qualifying, then that would
Yeah.
explain what they're continuing ed. So if as part of them upgrading, either because they're new to the industry or they're just upgrading and they're trying to get a higher sort of credential,
January 1st,
then they'll be
2022.
required to take the 7 hours plus the 1-hour exam. And then once they do that, they don't have to take that same exam again. They just have to then take the 7-hour educational continuing ed the first time they renew. And then after that, so if you think on a 2-year license, they upgrade, they take the 8 hours because it's 7 plus 1. Then
Mhm.
during that 2 years, they need to renew. So then they take 7. And then 4 years from original licensure, they're going to renew and they're going to take the 4.
For the 2 years, they'll take 4.
Yeah, 2,
Oh,
but it's 4 years from the original because.
Right, in his
That's
case.
going through the
in his
terms.
case there. So, but after you take the 7, every 2 years you're required to take the 4.
Correct.
He's
And there's no exam for that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you for that clarification.
There's
I know,
there's
that's
no
very
exam
helpful.
there's no exam for the 4-hour ever, but there's no exam for the 7-hour if you're taking it as a continuum. But
Right.
it's only the people that are originally applying for their license or upgrading their license to another category that have to take the exam.
Qualified.
Right.
On or after,
Right.
right, and that is on or after January 1,
January.
2026.
Right?
Okay,
Awesome.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Allison, for that, clarification and continuing education. So moving on to new business D, our next board meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, November 12th at 1:30. Is Candy here?
I'm here.
Oh,
Hi,
nice.
She's in Albany.
I'm here in Albany.
Oh, too many
You've got
places,
it.
too many people. Okay, so that is our tentative next meeting, November 12th.
That is correct, yes.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or conversations on that?
Can everybody make it?
Sorry, Sue, say it again?
can everybody make it and look at their calendar before we go too far?
I can already tell you that I'm in Texas.
I do.
Then we can't have it.
I mean, unless I can, again, I don't want to be I don't want to be a stick in the mud here, even if I could dial into the WebEx, I could do it. But I'm going to be in Texas.
I'm
I
gonna be
can-
in South Carolina. Go ahead, say it again.
I can send out some potential meeting dates to everyone.
Well, you know what? I think it's best. Why don't we try to hammer this out now? Look, everyone's got their calendar in front of them. I think,
Also need to make sure we have rooms available when we book.
Oh, yeah, there's more to
Yeah.
it than that.
right?
November.
Right,
Maybe
you're
we,
gonna have to check.
maybe we could come up with like 3 dates that we know that are good right now. Maybe
I
we
mean,
could do
you're
that.
not on mute, so you can.
Oh, yeah, I leave the country in November, so. I
And
can
when are
do
you
that.
back?
I should be back the first week, December.
Okay, I can put some dates out for December.
Right.
So I'm a bit of a nerd and I read through the video conferencing document that was on the website. And it said that board members can get approval as long as they do it in writing.
So-
In enough time in advance.
Well, so that's the extraordinary circumstance rule. It
Oh,
was
okay.
added following the COVID-19 pandemic emergency orders that suspended the open meetings laws. What that rule says, though, is it's only allowed for extraordinary circumstances, but the rest of the board still has to appear in person. So since we currently only have 5 board members,
Yeah.
every board member has to appear at a location that's open to the public. I mean, you know, I
So that's going to
believe,
that will make scheduling a little harder, but I totally get it.
Yeah, I mean, I believe there was one board meeting where I think, perhaps Steve like opened up the board, like had the official meeting at his office.
Yeah.
So like, you could certainly do that, but, you know, then your office would be listed as the place where any member of the public is allowed to appear and they'd have to be able to participate. But otherwise, everyone would
So
have to
we only,
be at a public
we
place.
did that, I think that actually did it during COVID. Because we were trying to get the use pass standards passed before January 1st, that we used my office as a open forum for people to come in. I mean,
No, that would have been after that because during the COVID, the OML law was suspended. So everyone was appearing virtually. So I think that was.
But I do recall it in my office. It only took me 17 years to get them to open up a Utica branch. I was very happy about that. So new board members, if you'd like to get a DOS spot in your town, if you start now, in 2042, you'll be able to walk down the street and go to the meeting. The week of the 13th is also, NYSAR is having their appraisal conference in Albany. So I would say that's gonna be difficult if you go into that meeting.
Okay.
It's either the 6th or the 13th. I haven't marked on both dates. I'll have to double check that. But either way, I'm not gonna be in town on the 13th. If it is, and I'm gonna be in South Carolina.
Okay.
So I don't know.
We
if
don't
you
need a
wanna-
motion to set a meeting, right? We can, okay.
No,
How
we're
does the
into,
first week in December look for everybody? Is there anybody that's got a lot of,
I think that
Conflicts?
When you come back, right?
I mean, you can't do November if Chanel's not here.
I'm good with the first.
You're good? I'm good.
I'm good for the first week of December.
All right, so there's some dates there, Candy, that might work for all of us.
Look at some dates the first week of December.
Okay, great.
You're gonna send them out. Okay. I do have
Okay.
one question, Steve. In terms of the schools that are teaching the appraisal certification courses, is there some sort of stats on that? How many schools are we having? How many schools we don't have this year that we might have had? Because I was speaking to someone who has a school and they explained to me that they did not renew the license because not enough people are coming to, get appraisal instruction. So he said he didn't renew the license for that. So is that something happening often now that people are not renewing the license for instruction?
Well, normally, and this is just a professional comment, that for license renewal, you can normally get continuing education online.
No,
So I
I'm
don't know
talking
if
about
physical,
for,
you're talking about
Like-
the standard courses, the 7 courses
Right.
you need to take, okay.
right, so he mentioned to me that not a lot of people are signing up to become appraisers. He doesn't know exactly what the case is, but he's noticed that as the years go by, less and less people are coming in to, invest in instruction for appraisers. So he basically said he renewed all the instruction licenses except for appraisal because he says pretty expensive to get the license.
I
But
mean,
is it worth it if people are not signing up to become appraisers?
well, I mean, the year-to-date 2024 to 2025, we saw a 3.5% decrease. So those are within certain margins. I don't think it's an alarming rate that we're losing appraisers. I mean, I think we discussed it, the idea of PARIA was the fact to make it easier to gain
Right, so
access to education experience.
So I'm want to see if we can get the stats on the instructors, because I think that we will be able to see what's going on with that. Are there less people, like, when you want to be an appraiser, you have to find a school, right, that's
Right.
certified to teach. So can we get the stats on that? Is that being reduced every year,
We
right? So
want to
we
know
can
how
see.
many schools have been approved.
Right.
Exactly, because.
And I've actually,
Right, right.
I have also.
Jody, is that something we can compile where you
Yeah,
can look to how many schools we had last year versus this year?
yeah.
Right.
Maybe we can
Yeah.
do it geographically, so we can look, because Chanel brings up a good point, maybe in New York City, you have 8 schools that have full educations, but if you're in Chautauqua County and Buffalo,
Exactly.
there
Yes.
might be a point where there's not enough
So-
schools.
And that's something that I had that kind of leads into the same thing. Actually, I wrote it down, but I didn't want to interrupt when you were talking about the number of people that were coming into the industry. I think or excuse me, the number of percentages that we lost of appraisers. What that doesn't tell you, it doesn't tell you how many new appraisers came on and how many old appraisers left. And I think that stat might be really, it is on there?
Yeah, so we have the original appraisal certification license, so we're down looks like 51. It was 482 a year ago, and we're at 431 now, right? Am I correct in that?
Mm-hmm. That's
Okay, that's comparing,
Yeah.
so for comparing these two pages, you can make that
Right.
conclusion.
from these. Just one. Yes.
So can I add a couple things to the original question? So as far as the schools, yeah, we don't have the numbers right at this meeting, but, Alice can just tell you how many approved schools we have at this point that offer the qualifying course. She can look at the
Okay.
same time last year. That's kind of easy for us to get. As far as, geographic location, courses are available online, so that doesn't necessarily, I mean, we can give you the counties where these schools are located, but there's also online education. So, you know, we can tell you.
Appraisal Institute's in Chicago.
Yeah. So we can tell you the counties that our schools are located in, whether or not they have online. I think most of them probably have both online and in classroom.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, we can get that information for you.
And Chanel, I think what you might be driving, the point that you're driving, Chanel, is as you get into the upper classes,
Mhm.
I think less and less people are taking those courses. And those, I mean, some of the people I know that own schools say that their numbers are dwindling in the higher level courses.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I think that's why for the general courses that we allowed additional subject matter experts. Subject matter electives, sorry, subject matter electives to qualify for licensure. And Allison had mentioned to me a couple weeks ago that the board voted on that some years ago. So that helped a little, I think, helped students a little bit.
That's a good point though, Chanel. I mean, information we can gather.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If there isn't any other questions concerning the meeting date, I'll go to item 4 on our agenda, public comment period. Is there anybody here from the public?
Nobody here. Buffalo.
No one in all.
There's always such a mad rush to get to the microphone. No one. Okay.
No one in New York.
It's just me here in Utica. All right, then I would, if there is any other questions, concerns, comments, new board members, guys, thanks, we appreciate it. The more eyes, the more ideas, the better off we are. I mean, and I like to say this, we're all little appraiser delegates, so as soon as the information is public, please go out to your associations and your committees and your appraisal friends that like to get together and watch football. Go Giants. Just saying, or go Bills.
Buffalo.
Which side, Western New York? I mean, yeah, Eastern New York, depending where you are. I know the Giants had a big win last night. But go out and, you know, talk amongst your peers and bring back ideas and concerns, because the more we know, the better off we are.
Right.
If that being said, I would like to ask for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay. Second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all right, thanks, everybody. Hopefully,
Thanks, Steve.
we'll all be in the same location, and Sue can take us out to lunch next time. That's what I'm looking forward to. All right, guys, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Enjoy the weekend.
All right, bye now.